An eyesore billboard in Roxbury is being converted into a showcase for local artists, thanks to the vision of a neighborhood resident and some creative collaborators. To tell us about the effort are Roxbury resident Dayenne Walters and one of the artists whose work is scheduled for exhibit, Hakim Raquib. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Good to be
Morning.
here.
I want to start with Dayenne, because this isn't just about art on a billboard. You have a name for this endeavor. This is about hope. What does that mean?
So the project is called Billboard Hope, and the subtitle is Hope and Inspiration for the Future. And this all started because I've been going through the same thing everybody in this whole world seems to be going through: the lockdown, the isolation, and just everything looking very gray, not having human contact, not being able to reach out and hug people, and even the people that you're related to, your closest relations, right? And I was just walking through the square on sort of a dismal gray December day and looked up at this billboard, which kind of dominates everything, and saw that it was empty, and the remains of what had been on it was just kind of blowing in the wind. And it just felt like, this gives me nothing, and it drains energy out of me. And I can just imagine what it must do for anybody else that looks up to see the sky and instead gets hit in the face with this ugly billboard. Let's be clear. And so I said, you know what we should do is put something beautiful up there. And that's when the idea was born. So I got in touch with the billboard owner, and I told them what my plan was. And I told them, I need your help to make this happen. And they were, credit where credit is due, gave me a generous discount on renting it. But I am renting the billboard from the owner. And then I started reaching out to every artist I knew in the Roxbury area, because I wanted this to be a community project. And there are so many artists living in the area. I mean, Roxbury is rich with that sort of energy. I live with an artist. He's going to be on the billboard. I have known Hakim for years. I could throw a stone and hit, like, it would bounce off of 8 artists on the way to the ground. So I just knew that there was community here to make this happen, and I'm really excited for what's to come.
Hakim, you have contributed something that's going to look very good on the billboard, but at the same time, you have some associations with Roxbury, and particularly this part of Roxbury around Eliot Square, that go back many, many years. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I grew up basically in Roxbury, but as a teenager, that area, Eliot Square, signified a waterhole, meeting place for most of the teenagers in high school age during that time. The late Reverend Michael Haynes was a director of activities at the Norfolk House Center. And in that area, there were many activities going on: basketball games, dances, workshops of all kinds, but it was a meeting ground for most of the teenagers. So I felt very honored to be a part of that. It's like returning home in full circle. And it's a blessing that Dayenne got that started. And thank you so much for doing that. But in brief, that's basically my relationship to the community in that area. But I've been photographing Roxbury since the late 60s, 69. Basically, I've been a photographer here, a community-based photographer. I've done a lot of traveling, but I spent a great deal of time in Roxbury. My career is situated here.
So yeah, I'm picking up on what Hakim was talking about with his memories of growing up and being around the square. And when I go through the square now, I see a lot of things that, at least physically, as far as the condition of buildings, looks better than it did 40 years ago. But on the other hand, the presence of people that Hakim was talking about, what about the power of art to evoke at least something equivalent to that in the neighborhood? You feel a presence of people.
You absolutely do. And I see as we move into the next phase of this pandemic, and the month gets warmer, I see the square coming to life again. And I think this is just another element to bring that energy to a greater height. There's when you may see physically a lot of development happening, but there's also cultural events that happen like on a continual basis. I've lived in the square for going on 30 years. And in the summertime, there are live jazz concerts that are sponsored by the Unitarian Church that's in the square. The late spring, early summer, you're going to see basketball tournaments going on in the basketball court in back of the Timothy School. You're going to see the ladies out with their babies in the playground. You're going to see older people like sitting in the benches in the middle of the square and talking. At the Dillaway Thomas House, there's going to be Roxbury Open Studio. There's going to be, I don't know what it's going to be this year, but we're in talks to do like an artist panel under their auspices. I know for a fact I dance with a wonderful teacher that teaches African dance in the state park, the state historical park. So I mean, there's so much vibrancy going on. It's not just about like real estate for my feelings for this place. I didn't grow up in John Eliot Square like Hakim did, but I raised my family here. And my husband, Carlos Byron, who is an amazing artist and photographer, we got married at the church. Yeah, so there's a lot of strong ties here. And I think that I'm just like so proud to make this gift to everyone, and to introduce maybe some people to some folks they didn't know who make beautiful things.
Hakim, I'd like to ask you about your gift, this photograph. I'm picturing it on the billboard. You know, it looks like the dawning of a new day. It's colorful. It's maybe iconic, but it looks like it's from another world. Tell me, how did this photo happen exactly?
That's an interesting day. It was on the summer solstice that came, and I think it was a couple of years ago, actually. And a group of women came together that call themselves the Sisters of the Calabash, I believe. I'm not entirely sure of that, but they got together at Carson Beach to celebrate and to honor the African ancestors. And they had a ceremony there through prayer and dance and song. It was a wonderful day. I came there as it was beginning, which was at sunrise. So I had the opportunity to see it, and the women were in front of the sunrise and praying. And it was just by chance I was there, and I got that wonderful photograph. And the breaking of the sky just added the drama to the moment. But it was a great day. It was a wonderful day. There are many photographs that came out of that.
Speaking of Carson Beach, you go back a way, so you must remember some days, some years before that, when that beach was off limits to people of color.
Well, that's true. It was. I mean, that was a sort of a reclaiming the day. And often people attend that beach now from the Roxbury community. It used to be a local beach. When I was growing up, my mother would take us there to Carson Beach, and it was wonderful. There was a gazebo there, and there was a band that would play John Philip Sousa music, tuba, but we had picnics there all the time. This was in the mid-50s, going into the early 60s. No, yeah, I would say it would end around 1958, circa, somewhere around there. But I had fond memories. There was a lot of antagonism there in the 60s. Especially when the community from Columbia Point came there to use the waters, and they were rejected by the community people there in South Boston. It was a quite a scene, but there was a lot of fighting and arrest. But all that seems to have changed now.
Very much. I've been out
For the
there.
better.
I see the difference.
Yeah.
Dayenne, is there anything you can tell me about some of the other works that have been selected for exhibit on the billboard?
Yes. So we have Tran Vu, who is a Vietnamese artist. She is going up after Hakim's. And then Carlos W. Byron, who has, I think he's known for some murals that are up around Boston at the community school on Quincy Street and Blue Hill Ave, yeah, I believe that, the Haynes Center. And his photography of a protest march that was happening a couple of years ago is going up number 3. We have Chanel Thurville, a young artist who is has work at the Museum of Science and is very well known. Coming up, Aqua Holmes, who is an amazing illustrator and printer, is coming up later in the year. Larry Azim, who had the Winter Gallery a while back, is part of the mix, but I'm still looking for artists to apply to be on the board. And the deadline is April the 5th. You can show people the information at the end of the show. I would appreciate it if you would get the word out. If they want to get in touch with me at Billboard Hope 2021 at Gmail, and just let me know who they are and I'll be happy to talk to them, send them out the information. I have a few other folks who have applied, so there's some really interesting things coming.
Dayenne, I know that you and Hakim are great examples for artists who are looking for creative outlets, but take this a little further. For people who have a problem in their neighborhood that they want to solve, a quality of life problem like the ugly billboard, what's your advice for them?
I think that there are many ways for us to have our agency within our own neighborhoods. And I think that everybody's light can shine. You just have to figure out what it is that is important to you, and then find other people that are of like minds and work together. An ugly billboard is just one of the things this neighborhood is underneath. We have housing issues, we have health issues, we have employment issues. There are many, many issues that this project may not be able to solve anything at all, but it may be something that gets somebody to think about a way to solve something even bigger. And for that, I'd be grateful.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. And finally, one more question, Dayenne. You have a page on Facebook, I think, about this project. Is there some way people can look that up?
Yes, they can go to Billboard Hope 2021 on Facebook and get updates on the artists, and they can contribute their own, thoughts. And I'm hoping that they'll find out about these great artists, find out about projects that the artists are involved in other than the billboard, and support them.
Well, I'd like to thank you both very much for taking the time to be with us.
A pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dayenne Walters and Hakim Raquib.